Hey, it's Sean again. Welcome back to My Favorite Strings. Now we're up to episode 8. This episode is going to feature my beloved Mascis signature series, Squier Jazzmaster. And this one's from 2015. His name is Juzzy, like, you know, jazz music, the Jazzmaster. But I had originally picked out the name Klimt for the artist. And I'd seen a movie about his work the year that I got this, and, you know, he went with the gold a lot, so this looks like his kind of basic palette. But it came to be known as Juzzy, just as a colloquialism in our house here. I got this on Christmas Day of 2015. If you know Christmas Day, you can imagine the date that is. But anyway, I found it at the scene, Central Michigan Music in Clare, Michigan. I hope they're still there. It was a cool place. And I just went in and played this one, I don't know, a Wednesday morning. I had nothing to do. I think it was October 14th, 2015. I met this and I decided to go back a week later and just be like, can I put this on layaway? And so I kept paying, I think it was like $400 in total. I kept paying that, and I had people ask me, like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, well, if you contribute to this fund. It was a verbal GoFundMe. So, yeah, a lot of my family members just chipped in and helped me get this by Christmas. And that day, I actually got up early and didn't, you know, I was still living at home. If you have a home, you're living at home, right? But I mean, with my dad. And we still did presents a little bit, you know, and which is nice. Listen, I'm a millennial, so you know where I'm coming from. You might live with your dad. It's cool. It's fine. No shame. Anyway, I got up that morning and I played my previous main guitar that morning. And there's always this moment of, like, succession of who's the new king of the guitars or whatever for that period of years or something. But my previous main guitar was my 1957 Strat reissue Hobhouse, and we'll talk about that in one of these videos too. But yeah, I got up, you know, 9 in the morning, played that for an hour, and then I finally left the room and I was like, okay, this is out there, and now it's time to play this. And it's always a peaceful transition of power, you know. You're not gonna have to worry about it because they all live together. Anyway, very cool instrument. But yeah, and also as a succession thing, I liked the maple neck Strats for like so many years. From when I started to, you know, about 2015, I started to really appreciate this chunk of wood here, rosewood, on top of maple. It makes a happy sandwich. It kind of looks like a chocolate peanut butter bar. Very beautiful, very appetizing to play. This also has kind of that satin finish neck where it's like almost nothing there. So that's really comfortable. And how could we forget this section of the guitar at all? Probably my personal favorite trem vibrato. It's actually vibrato the effect, but you know. But yeah, this is a very solid unit because of, this is like a Gibson Tune-o-matic bridge that provides for a lot of stability when you're just playing surf music and glide guitar for shoegaze. Anything you could find a use for this for. But just the aesthetic, without getting into all the details, it's just like a creamsicle or something, I don't know. Kind of a really nice and almost pastel hot rod or something, if you can imagine that. Very sophisticated. The Mascis name is very important in the history of Jazzmasters because he's one of the people who really brought it back to popularity after this being a kind of a relegated to the sidelines instrument. It was supposed to be made for jazz, which I really think it was. It sounds great for everything as well as its namesake genre, but no one really used it for that, so to speak. But then you got the Ventures right away in the 60s, a few years after this came out. They were using these to great effect. One of the first, most popular endorsers. Yes, they were literal endorsers, I would say. And then the next big thing was the punk era, with, you know, Elvis Costello and Television using these. And then, you know, the grunge era and the noise music scene, Sonic Youth and everybody. I think my favorite Jazzmaster player probably of all time would be Nels Cline, who is most known for being in Wilco, but he can play anything. He's had a lot of projects and been playing probably exactly as many years as his twin brother Alex Cline, I would say. I used to take this, I had an overnight job cleaning a library on a college campus around then, and I took this about every night, and just, you know, everybody took like an hour lunch break and I would eat and then just play this. And any other, you know, little 15-minute breaks while I was dusting things. And yeah, that's where I started to just work on getting used to this. And it's a very comfortable sitting guitar or standing with this offset waist. And I have 2 Jazzmaster tattoos. That were my first tattoo. I know, a millennial thing. Again, I don't know, a hipster thing. Vintage hipster. There's a lot at play. But there's, you know, I think if you are a millennial, you probably have to own one of these at some point. Just for the cool factor, and I think people probably do. Or a Jaguar, or a Telecaster, those are or a Mustang, or ... Just play what you like. But anyway, it's probably my favorite sounding electric guitar, with the exception of my guitar, my 1985 Squier Strat. And this was my second offset guitar, and we'll have a whole video, I think, about my first one. But yeah, I didn't know that you should kind of leave these things in there on this, because they're just kind of hanging there. So I kept taking it out, and now it's really loose. And I asked a person who knew about it, I'm like, what are you supposed to do with those? They're like, leave them on. Like, okay, all right. I remember the first few times meeting actual Jazzmasters in stores, because it's just not like maybe now they are, but they were never as common to see as a Stratocaster or a Telecaster hanging on a shop wall or anything. But I played one at Guitar Center in Saginaw, Michigan. I think that was the first one I ever played, and it was a Japanese reissue, and I really liked it. The first J Mascis one is a Fender with the purple sparkle finish, and that's really cool too. But then I was like, it had that kind of, you know, the iffy bridge, where people are always changing them out to more like the mastery bridge and things like that kind of hold it better. I mean, these were made to have heavy strings on it for sure, because they didn't make light strings. They just didn't. You had to get banjo strings and just work with that if you wanted to bend it all, I guess. I wasn't there. I don't know. Chuck Berry could bend any string, but he's Chuck Berry. Anyway, while we're on strings, I broke one of these at the beginning of quarantine, and I'm like, I don't know why I was freaking out, but like, I was just like, am I going to be able to buy strings? So I went over to my friends, and we just sat socially distant outside together, and I was like, do you have any D strings? And so he gave me this acoustic D string that works just as well, and it looks cool. It's like the whole offsetness about it, and so I haven't changed these strings in a while, and I kind of like the weird mismatched ones. Thank you, Eric. Shout out to Eric for lending me this string. You'll get it back. I'll boil it. Thank you. But yeah, I think they're just kind of out there to people, even though this came out in 1958, which was the same year as the Gibson Explorer, the Gibson Flying V, so some pretty out there guitars. But this whole switch system here with the wheels, it's not actually that difficult. It's just that when you flip this up, you're just using this pickup. And that has the volume and tone here. I don't know, pretty automotive solution there, which other things look like hot rods anyway. But then down here is in the one that most people use, the standard. So you have control of things here, here, and here. These are not the vintage style pickups at all. These are more like P90s. They really rock. But they still have a very sensitive sound. And this coupled with a nice Fender reverb unit or amp, it's very 60s anyway, with a twist. And I like to think about some of my favorite moments with these instruments, and I think first of all, just the getting of it was so cool, because I had ogled these things from afar, I'd been, as soon as you could look on the internet all the time at listings for guitars that were for sale, I would always look at Jazzmasters as much as vintage Strats and Tellys, but I never had one until I was 26. almost 27, so that's amazing to me. But I think it was finally time to get one. And then my favorite show with it was at my dad's 40th high school reunion. And we just played this kind of a bar Mexican restaurant in our hometown. You know, it's always kind of mellow at those things, and people bring their acoustic guitars that they plug in and stuff. And we rolled up with, you know, like huge amps, and this was par for the course in my life so far. You know, like 3 guitars each, and we're playing for like a 45-minute set. Just like, well, you know, be prepared. But so in the last song, I just kind of, you know, went for it. I went towards the light, and I broke 2 strings during that solo, which is not really that uncommon. I think I've probably done that on this guitar a lot. But it's a guitar that, like I've said about other guitars, it just makes you think a little differently, and you kind of want to be in space. There's a Ventures album called Ventures in Space, and I get it. It's not just to be like retro futuristic or something. It really does inspire you to do kind of everything, but you'll get to the fringe with it, which is cool. That's a good place to live on this. Hopefully every guitar will take you to a different geographical, spiritual location, is all I'm saying, man. But anyway, yeah, if you like this series, feel free to give her a thumbs up, give her a subscribe, give her a bell ring, give her a comment. If you have any cool experiences with Jazzmasters or offset guitars or anything, let me know in the comments. And we'll be back next time.